Hello, everyone. Welcome to the program. This is Politics in Africa. Today, on the edition of the program today, we are going to concentrate on Kogi State with specific reference to Kogi politics. And my guest on the program here today is a special guest, of course. It's a guest we've long anticipated and waited to have. But because of his tight schedule, it has not really been easy. And luckily, he's here with us today. Usually, I used to allow people to mention their name so that you out there will not accuse me of mispronouncing people's name, and he knows his name better. But to the best that I know him, he is a brother, a friend, and somebody I know very well. So let me give it a shot. If I get it wrong, he will correct me. That is Alhaji Honorable Abdul Wahab Unisa. Am I correct, sir?
Correct. Thank you very much.
To say Abdul Wahab, Alhaji Honorable Abdul Wahab Yunusa.
Thank you very much.
I think for the first time I got it correct here. And he is a politician, not just a politician, an active and participating politician. He was the chieftain and candidate of Labour Party for senator in one of the races before to represent Kogi East. Sir, you are welcome to USTV Africa.
Thank you for having me.
And today we are going to talk about politics in Africa with specific focus on Kogi politics. You will remember that you are not just a politician, you have been participating in elections. You've contested, you've supported and participated in election. But prior to the last election, 2023 election in Kogi State, there were pockets of tribal and regional politics where the Ibira people have the Ibira agenda, the Okun people have the Okun agenda, and the Igala people have Igala agenda. As a politician, what do you think is the impact of this tribal agenda on Kogi politics?
Once again, Ayo, thank you for having me on this program today.
Thank you, sir.
Like you said, I would like to introduce myself once again. My name is Alhaji Abdul Wahab Yahaya Yunusa Adebu.
Those are the additions that I said. You will know yourself better than me.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm an Igala man, a politician to the core. Come to your question. In the real sense, to be fair to the people of Kogi State in general, and Kogi East in particular, our agitation has got nothing to do with Igala agenda. No. What we have is Kogi agenda. How do I mean? If you check, as an Igala man, if you check from the eastern flank of the state, you see there's a mixture of marriage. There's an intertribal marriage in Kogi State generally. In Ida, in Ofu, in Omala, Ankpa, and so on from the eastern flank.
All the 9 local governments.
We have a lot of Ibira ladies that are married to the Igalas. We have the Igalas that marry Ibiras, and so on and so forth. We have been living with these tribes, both the Oworos from the Okun, the Yorubas from Kaba area, the Ibiras, and the Kakanda from the Lokoja axis. We have been marrying each other. We have been running businesses together. I have a lot of my friends spread all over the state. Some, majority of them from the central flank, which is where the Ibira people come from. And mark you, from the inception, from the creation of Kogi State, right from the military administrators down to Abubakar Audu, who was the first civilian governor of the state. If you check, during the tenure of these people, you realize that the offices, the sharing of offices of those of the state, based on it was not based on tribal sentiment. There was nothing like this is a Yoruba man, this is an Ibira man during all those times. And when you check again, even when the Igalas were doing this governorship,
when they were in position of governorship
governorship back to back, it has never been from one local government. It has never been from one ward. For instance, from Abubakar Audu to his son, or from Abubakar Audu to his cousin. It has never been like that.
Abubakar Audu was from Ofu. Ibro was from
Omala.
Yes.
Wada was from Dekina
local government.
So you check it and see. Now, when the last administration, the last governor, Yahaya Adoza Bello, came on stream, I call him a child of necessity, child of providence. He came by accident, and of course, due to his own youthful age at that material time. Up till now, I believe very strongly it's not up to 50. He ought to have left a landmark. So, when you talk of tribal sentiment, how did we get here? Where did he start from?
That is the point I was going to. If you like you rightly said, prior to the 2015 when Bello came in, and between that time and now, we had Audu and Adaba, we had Ibro and Olafemi. The agitation, this tribal agitation, have not really been pronounced up till 2015. What do you think is responsible for this loudness of this tribe, that tribe, and the state seems to be polarized along tribal line? Anigalaman to himself, Anokuma to himself, and Ibra to himself, and they virtually see each other as opponents and rivals. What do you think gives birth to such agitation at this late period of time?
The whole thing boils down to greed and youthful exuberance. When you check politics in democracy, for instance, democracy is a government of number. It's a game of number. And of course, those that define democracy, Aristotle, did not make any mistake. He said democracy is government of the people, by the people and for the people. For you to think that democracy belongs to you and your family, then you are creating problem. So this became so pronounced between 2015 and 2003. Take Kogi, our own state, as a case study. Why must you kill because you are running for a political office? Why? Once upon a time, the president of this country, President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, on the podium while he was campaigning, agitating to become a president.
I remember he did say that his ambition is not worth anybody's blood.
Not worth anybody's blood.
Jonathan said,
look at what Yahaya Bello did. Killing here and there. You've tried to, were not protected. All the killings you see, 90% of it came from Kogi East. Why won't we defend ourselves? At this stage of my life, I should be afraid of somebody? At this stage of my life? Do you know how old I am at this point in time? Why I should not be afraid of anybody? I have run for Senate. Go and ask Ataya Idoko, the former senator of the Federal Republic. I contested against him on the platform of Labour Party in 2015, 2019. We know what happened at that time. All those ones are history today. But coming back to your question, for instance, how on earth will somebody who is supposed to be chief executive of the state polarize the state in such a way that you place it on ethnicity? You understand? Check. When he was there, during his second tenure, to be fair to him, his first tenure wasn't like that.
Okay.
The chief of staff at that time was
Chief David Edward Onoja,
David Edward Onoja,
who later became the deputy governor.
During Yahaya Bello's first tenure, Edward Onoja was a de facto governor.
He gave all the power to him.
He called the shots at that time. What did he make out of it? And by the time the young man woke up, he discovered that he was lagging behind. And then he took it all to himself by bringing in all his own tribal men. thereby changing, not based on equality before the law, not based on population, not based on the local governments we have. Check. At that time, the deputy governor was the only Igala SSG was from Oku, commissioner for finance, commissioner for this, commissioner for that, SA this, SA that. We're all from Central.
So, but there was this commissioners from the Kogi East then.
Do you know the
and even the SSAs from Kogi East?
The eastern flank of the state have 9 local governments.
Yes.
And then that is to say the majority comes from there. If you are not the governor, common sense should tell you that the number of commissioners that will come from the eastern flank should be justified. That should be justified, and for everybody that comes from that environment to think that yes, there is equity in the sharing formula of positions or political
offices. The sharing formula should be balanced.
Exactly.
So that if the East that have more local governments cannot have more, at least they should have balance.
Exactly. Look at what is happening now. For instance, check the spread of the commissioners. Check the spread of the offices. How come majority become the minority? You see, have you forgotten? If they believe in the strength of thuggery and killings. Politics does not call for that. Politics is not always war. You must dialogue. It has to be jaw and not war. Build up to the last election. You are from the eastern flank of the state. Do you know how many people that were killed from the eastern senatorial district? You know how many people that were killed? Do you see how we are being treated? For God's sake, nobody will not fold our arms. All of us were in APC. When we discovered that he was trying to change us and twist us, we went to another party.
All right, that takes me back to your mentioning of the eastern flank having 9 local government and having more number than the other side of the state, of the divide of the state. So that if you have the west and the central, the east have more number of local government and larger population than the other parts of the state. So in your own point of view, do you think the minority and majority should have equal rights in terms of power distribution? Because democracy is a game of numbers.
When you have crisis everywhere, if you go to the root of it, what is the root of those crises you are hearing? Injustice. Give Caesar what is due to Caesar. Give Pope what is due to Pope. You cannot say because you are the governor, the accountant general should come from you. The chief of staff come from you. I mean, if you look at the governor, the deputy governor, the secretary to the state government, the chief of staff, these 4 key positions must be divided equitably
along the senatorial
districts. You understand? So if you decide to make it or to politicize ethnicity into democracy, then you are looking for trouble. We can't fold our arms. We don't have the governor. Look, my brother, let me refer you to when we were in Kogi State. When we were in Benue State. The largest ethnic group in Benue State were the Thieves, followed by the Igalas. Have you ever heard that an Igala man was once governor of Benue State?
No, it didn't happen all through.
It did not happen all through because they were more than us.
So in this case, then, what would you say should be the fate of the minority in a state where we have the 3 major tribes, Okun, Igala, and the Ibira?
My brother, we are not looking at tribes.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are talking about. Let us talk about minority.
That you like it or you don't like it. Now, the state is polarized along tribal line, and just like you say that whatever thing that comes to the stage should be divided equitably among those, I mean, three major, agree that there are the Basa people are there, the Oworo are there, the Kakanda, and other minor minority tribes in the state. But among those three major tribes, what do you think should be the fate of the minority in terms of power distribution?
Let me tell you, both macro and micro, when you talk about minority, this in a democratic setting, the majority will always have their way, and the minority will have their say. Give them, let them breathe. The majority will have their way because they are more in number. But despite that, the minority must have their say. They must talk, they must defend themselves. Allow them to breathe. Let them have positions that will send the dividend of democracy back to them. Their voices must be heard.
Aside the dividends of democracy, I want to think that, I mean, from the way it is, their agitation from those other tribes, because right from the inception of democracy in Kogi State, the Ibira people have always agitated for shift of power. Now, coincidentally, by the death of Prince Abakar, they have it. And now they are, I mean, vying for the second one as it stands. The Okun people are already, not even before 2027, are already agitating. What do you think the Igala people that are majority should do in balancing this agitation?
Democracy is all about agitations. People will continue to agitate. They will continue to search clothes at all times. There is nothing like a gentleman agreement in a game of number. If we are 1 million and you are 500, there is nothing you can do about it. Okay, now we should say that because we are 1 million and you are 500, 400 should come and vote from our place so that your 500 will vote, and it can't stop possible anywhere.
Yeah, maybe being your brother's keeper, maybe.
That's why I said the majority will always have their way, and the minority will have their say.
All right, a little reflection back to because the major issue there is this agitation between the quote and unquote majority and minority. You agree with me that even with the number of the Igala people being the larger part of the state, having more population, I think by a demography, the population of the Kogi East doubles that of East and Central put together by demography. But again, even with this population in 2019, Igala people lost the election in 2019. What do you think is responsible for their losing the election, even with this population?
Did you believe in the Igala? Did you believe in 2019 the Igala lost the election? Were they allowed to come out to vote? But that was it. No, nobody.
The point you want
they were not allowed to come out to vote.
I'm trying to check the value of the number, that you have more number.
Yes.
And in 2019, they couldn't win. The Kogi East couldn't win the election.
That shows how peaceful we are.
Why did they lose the election?
That shows that we are our brother's keeper. In 2019, recall that during that election, remember, there was a slogan from the central flank.
The ta-ta-ta-ta slogan.
Of course, that if we are not ready to hear, we will hear ta-ta-ta-ta. Now, what is the meaning of ta-ta-ta-ta? By definition, you can see that's the sign of gun. That's the sound of gunshot.
It depicts violence.
Thank you very much. So now, if it actually depicts violence, and then yet, because due to our own number, we did not look at that, we retreated and decided to go back. What they normally do to us, and this has to do with the educational background of some of our people,
and precisely mindset of our
mindset and educational background. When you check, they try to do divide and rule. They set some people against their own people. They pay them. Otherwise, for instance, if you are an Igala man, how can somebody pay you to carry gun against your own people and go and kill them?
Because Bello did not cross to the Eastern Plateau.
No way.
No, the Igala man crossed to the Eastern. It was the Igala man against the Igala man.
Against the Igala man. Yes. That is why I said it was divide and rule. You empower some and throw some into poverty. And there's nothing poverty cannot do. What were they giving them? You go to polling units, they are giving them 500 naira. 500 naira, then you sell your conscience for 4 years, my brother. My brother, will you do that? And that is why this time around we said no. We said no. We cannot be cowed. We are not being conquered. And we no longer fear. That was the slogan the late revered monarch, His Royal Highness, the late Oyinoyi of Ibiraland. He told us, he said, don't fear. Don't fear. When you fear kills you. You like it or not, if you speak, you die. If you don't speak, you die. Why won't you speak and die? So that your children will know that their father was not a coward. We are not coward. You cannot, look, my brother, you can't cow us into submission. We will never submit. As far as Kogi State is concerned, the population majority carries the verdict.
I was going to agree with you on the violence in 2019 because we witnessed it in the state, and in fact, the violence was so intense that the helicopter was used
from helicopter down to Lokoja
in fact,
and Ajaokuta.
In Kogi, there was mass killing of
Exactly.
The violence was obvious, and that gave birth to the origin of the slogan,
exactly.
the Shakata slogan.
Exactly.
I was going to agree with you that Kogi East would not agree again to be coward.
No.
But again in 2023, the same thing was repeated with the population, with everything. The population was subdued, the majority was subdued, and what happened in 2019 repeated, if not worse. What will you say in that regard?
Let me go the political way or the electoral process way this time around. And I think this is one of the debates going on in the Senate at the moment. They should give the power to INEC at the central, at the headquarters, the federal INEC, to conduct all elections.
From federal to the state to the local
down
to the councillors.
Otherwise, you see where a governor will just sit at the comfort of his office or dining table and then draw out names, stooges that he wants to be chairman of various local governments. My brother, if you are from Kogi State, not Kogi East alone, Kogi State generally, check all the general hospitals and tell me how many general hospitals that are functional at the moment.
In the state.
In the state. All. You come out with very myopic view. Then go to the primary schools and secondary schools. Tell me how many are functional. Because of the number of people that are out of school, they now have readily available tools to be used for violence. They've taken into drugs because there is nothing for them to do, no school, no job, no nothing. They wake up in the morning and then you see some of them playing draft, playing games because they don't know what to do. These are people that are trained, ready to be used at every election time. Let me tell you, in the last election, build up from the primaries, the people were ready to put their feet on ground. That look, if the election is done free and fair, this is where we want to go. Was there primaries? There was no primaries. To the best of my knowledge, from my own local government in either local government, I was there from the starting to the end. There was no single primary that took place anywhere. Other than the charade that you see.
They're talking about the APC.
APC primaries.
Okay.
APC primaries. There was none. Except what you see Yaya Bello displayed at Lokoja, where Patrick Obayagwan shamelessly announced what he did not witness. I used to respect that man. I ran into him at Transco Hilton recently. I looked at him I said, these are the type of people that create problem for us in Kogi State. He went and declared an election, a primary election that he never took part, that he did not witness. The then governor of Zamfara State, Motawale, was the chairman of that committee. When he discovered he was fasting, he wouldn't have come to declare an election he didn't witness. He left. Motawale did not declare that election. He was the chairman. Obayabo was the secretary. And we told him that we will see him, when we get to the peak, we will meet him. All this grammar, you see him speaking everywhere. That kind character cannot be in any responsible office.
Returning, redirecting our attention to the question at hand.
Yes.
Why do you think what happened in 2019 repeated itself in 2023 against the Kogi East that have the larger population? The number will have counted because
exactly.
The democracy is a game of number.
Yes.
You are more in number than the other flanks of the state.
Yes.
The population was manipulated and subdued in 2019. 2023, the same thing repeated. What do you think is responsible for that?
The electoral process.
Okay.
Was marred by fraud. There was nobody to checkmate what was actually going on at that material time. The governor had all the power to himself. So he had a field day. It deprived those that bought the funds, those that actually indicated their interest to run for that position. It deprived all of them and brought in a new face entirely into the system. And that is what brought us to the position we are today.
All right.
The process was marred with fraud. So it wouldn't have worked.
Okay, on the final note, it is 1 year to Huru, and because it's not all over. There's still litigation and the case is still hanging at the tribunal, from where we hope that it will move forward to the appeal and to end at the Supreme Court. As an elder statesman and a politician, a citizen of the state, what is your view of the post-tribunal Kogi State? You think whichever way it is delivered, that there will be peace in the state?
You see, injustice is the bane of all crisis. When the right thing is done, everybody will believe that the right thing is done. When you try to profile injustice against a section, they will never agree with you. Justice is the watchword. Let there be justice, and there will be peace.
Okay. It is wrong to preempt the judiciary. Most of the time, we don't do that. But if the verdict is to be pronounced tomorrow, if the judgment is to be delivered tomorrow, you think you have it?
When justice is done judiciously, everybody will go home and dry. All we are saying is justice.
It should be done.
But I put it as my last word. Freedom is coming to Kogi again.
All right, thank you very much for being with us, and we appreciate this discussion. It's really deep and full of a lot of inspiration and insight into what is happening in the state. And I think viewers too will have had the opportunity to know what has happened in the state and what put the state in the condition that it is today. We hope again after the tribunal to have you in the studio and have another discussion in projecting how to move the state forward.
It's always my pleasure.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Here we draw the curtain on the program today. My guest on the program, Honorable Alhaji Abdulwahab Yahya Yunusa Adebu, is the guest on the program today, and this is Politics in Africa.
USTV, Unity Star Television, always ahead.